What's going on, guys? Steel here, and I'm gonna take another look at the Operation Summer event. Just some of my thoughts before the event starts. Um, the reward vehicles are obviously interesting, and a lot of people definitely want the Mexus and/or the Tiger. I don't know as much about Naval, but so. The tasks are going to be quite difficult for tankers. Interestingly enough, top comment is made by a guy named Miragen or Miragen, whatever. He says 50 enemies instead of 45, 14 wins instead of 10, 12 enemies instead of 11, 30 assists instead of 25. Glad you're increasing the requirements based on the amount of criticism you get from previous events. Also, why do kills no longer scale with RB and Sim? Please tell me that's just a mistake and that's insanity. And assists should also scale with RB, as people have asked for many times before. And Smin replies and says, the task changes are based on the data and statistics taken from the previous events. Previous events showed that the tank tasks were completed far quicker and easier than the other two types, and it was what? It was greatly skewed compared to air and naval, even accounting for the generally larger ground presence. On average, in the time taken to get the 14 victories, the same player will have generally received the 50 kills also required. The average player was previously receiving 5+ kills per game in RB without major concern. Both RB and SB, both RB and SB both have more than enough targets to satisfy these tasks. All tasks for every event are carefully considered, taking into account the previous analytical data from past events. As such, aircraft have proven satisfactory now. Naval was too hard and thus the task reduced, and ground was even easier by a larger margin, thus sees an increase. Aircraft have higher multipliers in RB, for example, as you only have one spawn, which is not the case in ground forces. Obviously, I can tell a lot of people, a lot of people are frustrated. I understand too. I'm kind of confused as to why Sim and RB have the same, because personally, from my experience of playing Sim, you can get 6 kills pretty easy in Sim if you're competent. And there's really no point to playing in simulator battles either, because in RB, it's pretty easy for everyone to get 6 kills if they know what they're doing. Compared to Sim, where you have to deal with a Sim gun sight, lack of field of view, stuff like that. For air, they said Enduring Confrontation doesn't work too. Where was it? Battles excluding Enduring Confrontation and Assault. Okay, I understand Assault because that's a horde mode, but Enduring Confrontation, I mean, for bombing, all you had to do was go into a bomber and play for maybe an hour or so. Depending on the bomber, you could take a TU4 and get it done fairly easily, or whatever, a 288. In one game, you just go in, you do it, and you're done. You get the 10 tons of bombs. What is it? Yeah, 10 tons of TNT. And you're done. Now, what confuses me is to why they removed Enduring Confrontation. I understand that 2 kills in SB is like where they're at, 4 in RB, but you can pretty much get the entire task done in Sim in a single Enduring Confrontation play session. I used to use Enduring Confrontation for the Sim requirements for bombs and destroy enemies in one battle. But the thing is, it was much more simple. However, a lot of people don't play Sim because of its inaccessibility. People don't really understand mouse aim, or they don't have a joystick, whatever. So they kind of just are forcing you to play realistic battles. And there's really no point. I mean, you can destroy 40 people in SB, okay, but in 20 in RB, you can kill 20 people in like 5 games if you play a certain aircraft, or like a jet or something. So I'm not even gonna touch naval. I really don't even care, to be honest. I don't really understand I mean, if it's easy, but naval in general, it's just you wait 5 minutes for a game, depending on the tier, and at cruiser tier is when you can get the most possible damage, and you can capture points because most people will be in big ships, and you can take a PT boat and stuff like that. But it's like the time it takes you to play a single naval battle, and you can only achieve maybe one of these tasks. You could have gone into tanks or airplanes and maybe achieved two of the stars or whatever you want to call it for two of the requirements for the task to be completed. So naval is going to be a big time waster. Airplanes is going to be fairly simple, and tanks is going to be the worst problem. Now, we all know, for those of us who have experienced events before, and this goes for events in general, whether it's a build-a-thon or a task generation, event. When you make tasks that are centered around outdoing other players, in a way, you can't really. It would kind of be hypocritical to say that puts you against your players or your teammates, because in a way it does, in a way it doesn't. So from my personal experience with the event, and I'm sure plenty of other people have had this, when you play tanks, and let's say you're playing 5.7, say like you'll take, like, here I'll actually jump right in the game. Let's say I'm going to play my 5.7-ish Russian lineup. So I've got a T-34-85, the T-5 Panther, the KV-2-6, the S.U.M.E.R, and the T-34-57-1943, and then a P-8 and an IL-10. Because you can obviously complete the task. I'm still confused. I'm assuming that it counts towards ground even if you use air, because the way they worded it, I don't understand. Anyways, so let's say I'm playing 5.7 Russia. Well, it's a pretty popular battle rating. So let's hypothetically say I get a match and it's a 5-7 or a 6-0 match or whatever. Let's not go full up tier, because in a full up tier, if you're bottom tier, you're going to be frustrated whether it's an event or not. Let's go with 6.0. And we'll put the map on like Kurtkin Force or something. So small map, pretty straightforward. Let's say it's domination, so the caps are split up in a certain configuration. And as the match goes on, maybe 2 minutes in, your team starts getting raffle stomped because the enemy team, let's say if they're Germany in Italy or something, and they're one-upping your team and they're running around in Panther Fs and stuff and slapping you guys. Most people during an event are going to have the urge to just use return to hangar. They're just gonna rage quit. They're gonna jump to another country in another lineup, and they're gonna keep going. In my personal experience, from what I've seen and how I feel it affects the game, if everybody wants to get the event done more smoothly, you just have to play the game normally. Not try to go for the tasks, because looking at it again, it's pretty straightforward. You gotta destroy enemies, 50 enemies. Over time, you're just gonna end up getting kills in games. For the winning aspect is the toughest one, in my opinion, because capture points, you can just play little wheeled vehicles at certain tiers and whatnot, and go cap, and with a squad. Capping I would recommend with a squad. Destroy 6 enemies in a single game for RB. People are going to be running around in M18s. People at lower tiers playing in like the Whirlwind, because I believe the Whirlwind is a rank 3, so it counts, right? I can never remember if it's rank 3. Yeah, rank 3. People are going to Seal Club in Whirlwinds and T-34s, T-34-57s, maybe in Sim, because that usually is a pretty good vehicle in Sim. Again, I'm bringing up Sim. Or, people like we used to run Churchill Mark 7 squads and get kills and capture points and assists and all of that. So and you need 30 assists. It's just a time-consuming task. It's not like an aircraft where you have to get 10 tons of bombs for TNT. Obviously, you can't drop 10 tons of bombs in a single game for most aircraft in the game reliably. You could say, oh, you can take the Tu-4, but how often are you going to get shot down by an F-89 because it's 7.3? How often do you think you're not going to get targeted for being in a slow 4-engine heavy bomber that's the size of the fucking Death Star? So you can take a 288 or something and bomb. You can physically control how quickly you get that done, although it is separated over games realistically. Destroying 4 people in RB, again, you can control that. In tanks, you can control that as well. But the caveat to that, and even Smin said it, in aircraft, you have one spawn. There's a difference. You have one spawn in aircraft. That's why the tasks are a little bit easier. In tanks, you have a whole lineup. Well, what happens when you're looking in a match and it's a 12 on 12, and the second you look down in the kill feed in the bottom right and you see 5 of your teammates just got slaughtered, and then you press tab or whatever your team key is, your statistic, your scoreboard key, and you see the 4 people that just got slaughtered at the same time just decided to quit on their first spawn. Well, this screws over both teams. This screws over your team because you have less people, which means that the match is you're already starting to lose more tanks. So your chances of being able to reliably and safely get kills is more difficult because you have less teammates in the game that are spread out, covering map and helping each other with assists and whatnot. And so it makes your job harder because you are even at greater risk of being a target. I understand we're in a tank game, you have to get kills. I understand that people are going to end up being out of the game anyways. But if you still have spawn points for even a light tank, you gotta spawn in it. You gotta keep the match going. And now this screws over the enemy team in the same manner, where there's a lot more players in the game on the enemy team than there is on your team. Well, now they're all going to be competing to kill a smaller group of enemies on a more centered part of the map, and people are going to try and kill steal, which in a funny way would actually help with assists because people would be doing damage. It's going to force people to kill steal. People are going to get really toxic. People are going to team kill bomb people. I've had that happen to me a couple of times in past events. In fact, I had it happen to me during the first Merkava event, which I gave up on. I was team killed 4 games in a row by random people because I was playing I don't remember what, it was something, I think I was maybe playing the T-34 or something. People were not happy that I was getting a shit ton of kills and assists and caps, and people would just team kill bomb me because they wanted the enemies for themselves. Because the enemy team, people just started just going up and to the left, pressing escape and hitting return hanger. So that, to me, is the biggest issue with the event, is that people just need to play the game normally, as if you would any other day, and try to stay in the match, try to keep yourself alive, try to preserve yourself. You just, you fight to the last breath. I'm not saying you gotta be try hard and sweaty, but you have to allow the maximum time possible for people to get the task done, including yourself. Because the less people that are in a game, the quicker the match goes, because the more of a raffle stomp it can become for the other side, which reduces the amount of time in game that people have the ability to reduce tasks. Now you may say, well, I can just keep going game to game to game to game and hoping that I get lucky, or I get this map, and that's just, it's like, okay, you can do that, but you're, again, reducing the time that people, including yourself, have to do a task. You're just not going to get a shit ton of kills instantaneously in most vehicles in the game. Playing things with slow reloads. That's why you see people in Hellcats in light tanks, things that have fast reloads and that are fast. People want to get it done quick because people, have busy lives, they have other things to do, or they just want to get the task done so they can play the game normally and forget about it, or go play something else or whatever. So people are going to naturally find the best ways to do things. Now, that being said, we've gotten past the point where I'm talking about you screwing over your team and the enemy team. So in general, you're screwing everybody over, and the game during events gets really negative. It gets really toxic. It's not good for the game. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for Gaijin to deal with people bitching on the forums and crying that they can't do this and that and the other thing. So I'm done with that portion of the rant, because I'm sure everyone understands in some level that there has to be some form of cooperation. Now, the other part of this is going back to what Smin said. The task changes are based on the data and statistics taken from previous events. Now, this is a bigger issue for the game in general, and not just coming to events. If Gaijin personnel, developers, whatever, are relying on data and statistics a lot from just spreadsheets every other week. I don't know how they collect their data, but I'm going to assume when they constantly refer to data and statistics, I'm assuming they're looking at spreadsheets and data on a weekly basis, not a daily basis, because it's a bit hard to sift through, or even a monthly basis. God forbid. I hope I hope it's not that every now and then. But this is the thing that bothers me, is what I was saying earlier about how people find the best, most efficient way to do the event. Now, when Gaijin says they noticed how, Smin says they noticed how easy it was for people to do tanks because 5+ kills per game isn't a major concern for most people. Now, there's a lot of people that are on the receiving end of that kill, mind you. They're the person getting destroyed and losing spawn points and quitting the game. Again, it comes full circle. So them relying on that data does not take into account, this is when people say Gaijin doesn't play their own game or X company doesn't play their own game, it's usually because they're using data and statistics and really not trying to get a certain test going. They're not going, okay, we'll have a group of testers play 20 games, certain battle rating, whatever the lineup, keep the lineup somewhat similar, blah 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 blah. What happened? How did you feel? How your luck was going, or not really just your luck, but how do you feel the games were going? Were people doing a lot of bombing and revenge bombing, or this and that and the other thing? So if they don't understand how the average match is going in reality, because I'm assuming their data takes averages from win rates and kill death ratios and assists and stuff like that. But if they're not actively playing the game for the task, because Smin could literally just be like, Gaijin, can I have an event vehicle? And they'll be like, sure, because you're like an employee or a mod or whatever. Not trying to put words in his mouth or anything. But that is the major issue, is that if people can just get it for free that work at the company, because they work at the company and they get that benefit, well, of course the company isn't really playing their own game, because why would they need to? Why would they need to grind? Why would they need to earn things? So tanks being more difficult because of their apparent data that they feel made it too easy. Now, maybe it was, but again, are they looking at a single person? Are they looking at more general statistics? Because like I was saying earlier, again, it comes full circle. People will leave matches early, and they can be associated to another statistic, or or they'll look at the top 5 players in a match on average, and I don't know what Gaijin has or what algorithms they have to collect data. I have no idea. All I know is that it seems like they don't really understand the average match during an event. Now, I understand it's an event and people are all trying to do the same thing. Pitting players against their teammates because they selfishly want to complete it better than others is the biggest problem. That's always going to happen. It's competition. It's an event. There's going to be competition. But increasing the requirements and the difficulty of one section of the game over the other because you feel that it was too easy. I mean, was it easy for you? Sure. Maybe Smin is a good player and it's easy for him. Does not mean it's easy for most people in a match. People that are, we'll go back in the game. I have top tier America in tanks and aviation, top tier Russia in tanks, almost have top tier in aviation. Britain, not so much. Japan, nothing at all. China, nothing at all. Italy, aviation and army. France, aviation and army. Sweden, aviation and army. I can do basically whatever the hell I want. Whatever battle rating and lineup I want, I can do. People that are still mid-grind and want a nice, shiny, high-tier vehicle, maybe like... This is actually funny enough because I don't really own Germany. This is kind of in my department. I want the C2 Mexus so I can use it in a lineup with the L44 and grind Germany. So I know it's not a premium, but maybe I can put a talisman on it or just have another vehicle in that lineup. This is my top tier lineup for Germany right now. I have an M47, which funny enough I can get kills in a 9-0 game with this. The L44, the VFW because of its high fire rate and it's a long 88. The Horton, the 288, and the Urado, which I just recently added because I recently got the Urado. So I could add it to my lineup. There are probably plenty of people that are in the same boat. They own an L44, they're trying to grind Germany, they want a nice shiny new tank, and they're maybe stuck at, like me, they're at rank 4. They don't even have the rank 4 that I have, and they want to play a certain lineup, or they're trying to play their 5-3, 5-7, and they're getting up tier. There's so many different possibilities and so many different situations that players personally find themselves in that generalizing the statistic is usually a dangerous idea because their statistics are most likely coming from players like me who have played the game for a long period of time, who own a lot of vehicles, who know how to play the game, who know how to do the tasks, who know what lineups to use and what places to go on maps and playing squads and stuff like that. It's easy for people comfortably like me, but not for people who are like me in Japan. This is my Japan. This is my ground. This is my aviation. I'm mid-grind. If I was starting off, maybe say a year ago, and I was grinding Japan on and off because maybe I like other games, and this is my only nation to play. This is and even then, rank 2, because there's a lot of Steel Clubby vehicles rank 2. Rank 2 is not allowed in events. So I would be playing a pretty... it's all an alright lineup. The Chi-Nu. Japanese have pretty powerful guns. If I had the Chi-Nu 2, which is a rank 3, it would also count. No, the Chi-Nu 2 is rank 2, so that actually wouldn't count towards anything. The Chi-To, the Chi-Ri. If I was a player like this event would be really hard. And Gaijin would be looking at it and going, oh, we see that it was way too easy for people. Well, yeah, it's easy for, 60% of the player base that has multiple nations in either aviation or army or both at maybe around rank 4 or 5. Okay, maybe it's easy for those people, but for people who are even just grinding the basic lower tier vehicles, because the tasks remain the same no matter what tier you're playing. It's not easier for rank 3 than it is for rank 6. Or 7. It doesn't matter. The tasks may be more easily completable at a higher rank than they are at a lower rank, but the tasks remain the same. So for people that play at lower ranks, the tasks are going to be harder. Now I understand if Gaijin were to make some sort of amends to that and say, well, okay, if you're playing a lower tier, you have less requirement. Everybody's just going to play a low tier, and it's going to be more cancer. So everything does have to remain the same, which is a sad truth to the matter. But for people who are on their way up in a tech tree, and maybe one of their only tech trees, this event is going to be difficult for. Now, obviously, this may not be the average player, which again is probably what Gaijin statistics are. But it's just not gonna. It's just too difficult. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, for a lot of people, it's gonna be tough shit. You know, I hate to say it, but it is, for a lot of people, tough shit. At the same time, if you have friends that have played War Thunder for a long period of time, or can carry you in, say, because I know that you don't have to complete, I think it's 3 out of the 5, I believe, that you have to complete. 3, yeah, any 3 tasks from the 5 in random battles. So, for people who don't really have an active lineup, and they have, you know, friends or like Discords, like, you know, like mine, like I'm gonna be playing with people on my Discord during the event. I'm gonna be playing. I might even live stream a couple of days, do some videos. Who knows? But say if you're one of those people who doesn't really have something, you can gather a group of friends in a squad, and they can carry you through the wins. You know, say, I understand that this is the battle activity, but if you play something like a I don't know, I think the KV2 is rank 2 though, or is it rank 3? Yeah, the KV2 is rank 2, so that doesn't count. But say even if you're somebody who just has an ASU-57 or this, you do spotting, because I believe this has spotting. I'm not sure, but you just, you know, you shoot people, you track them, you get assists, you get battle activity, you win, because your squad mates are accomplishing the kills task, you're accomplishing the assists and the wins. You know, it all works out in the wash. There are scenarios where it may take you a little longer, but at least you're still able to easily, in some manner, participate in getting the tasks. So, I guess in closing, I would say that it's going to be difficult, and that kind of statement, data and statistics, needs to be watched carefully, because we know. Actually, again, I'm going to bring up the Lightning. The Lightning was doing terrible, and they saw in their statistics that it was doing terrible, so they moved it down. The F100 was doing amazing when it came out. In fact, the F100 I think has almost always been 10.0, but not really, because I don't believe 10.0 originally existed. I believe it was 9.7. But the F100 was stomping forever. Its win rate was through the roof. Well, when they changed it, people were like, well, fuck me. I face R60s now. I'm not going to play this thing. Not enough people play the F100 to get its KD and its win rate to go down in the statistics enough for Gaijin to warrant, when they look at their statistics, a battle rating decrease. So there's a lot of nuance to how Gaijin balances vehicles, balances the difficulty of their events, you know, plenty of things. So there's a lot of nuance to this. And I just think that we all need to just be mindful, be better to each other, be, you know, team players, not to be toxic. I'm going to really try to keep my sanity, because I know it's not going to happen. I just wanted to put this out there because I've been watching a lot of videos of people talking about the event. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I wish everyone luck. It starts August 7th is when the event starts. I wish everyone well, good luck. Try to keep your sanity intact. And if you are on the Discord or in the squadron or both, hop on during the event, and I'll be on playing with some friends. We'll be suffering together as what was it? Was it Voss? No. Sorry, not Voss. Menendez from Call of Duty Black Ops 2. He said, "Suffer with me." That's all I could think of during summer events is "suffer with me." Menendez going, "Suffer with me." But yeah, good luck everybody. I'm Steel Wolf, and I'll see y'all next time.